Hello? They what? Whoa. Slow down. What do you mean they didn't use encrypted signals? For what? National secrets. Yeah, wow, that seems like a big mistake. Okay. Yeah, well, keep me updated at least. Okay, thank you. Bye. What do you do if you're a leader of a country on the verge of war and the nation you think you may be going to war with soon sends a massive armada of powerful warships to the capital city? Well, if you're General Dawson or Prime Minister Weiss, you begin preparing the nation for combat. I'm Zachary Fielding, and welcome back to Theater Commanders. Last week, we saw Germany begin their operations in the Soviet Union, while in the West, they did see success in knocking out the French army and chunks of the British fleet. Italy joined the war on the side of Germany, but got hit hard by British air and naval forces, leading to the deaths of our first two players, Shane Swilly and Dylan Benoit. May they rest in peace. In the Pacific, we saw the Japanese, though not at war with the West, take aggressive forward positions, suggesting war with the West may be inevitable. And now we have made it to round two, where we will first look to Europe, where Führer Dennis Smith has ordered German factories to kick into high gear, to get more panzer divisions built and to the front lines for the 4th and 6th Armies respectively along the Russian front. 7 new panzer divisions are scheduled to be complete by the end of the German term, with 5 going to Panzer Group 1 under Field Marshal Scamardella and 2 to Panzer Group 2 under General Jeff Scamardella. Now, in the West, General Scamardella and Führer Smith, after wrapping up operations in central France, moved to Phase 2 of Operation Western Wall, targeting the French Atlantic coastline. The French do have 2 divisions here that the German 4th Army makes quick work of, with several artillery divisions and units from the 4th Army Mechanized Brigade with close air support to help mop up any resistance. Well, that is a successful operation, with Jeff in the Mediterranean personally leading the German air attacks against the British cruisers, HMS Norfolk and HMS Egypt, the 2 British cruisers that had survived the naval clashes last round. Now, the goal here is to clear the Med of any Allied warships, which does give a bonus income to the Italians in hopes of giving them enough money to become self-efficient and to resist the Allies in the Med. With this, they also reinforced Gibraltar with an infantry division and anti-air guns, as well as a fighter squadron flying in from Western Germany. The Germans are determined to keep the British from being able to retake the gateway to the Med for as long as possible. The Italians agreed to these operations after Germany had made a series of commitments to the Italians to ensure their forces were kept safe. Now, one key aspect in North Africa is Alexandria. The Italians did not want to move into the city, saying that it was too dangerous with the amount of British air power in Malta and the land forces from Egypt. Germany had requested that they move up anyways, promising to send air support to the region to ensure the 10th Legion's safety, since they thought the British wouldn't risk too much air in an offensive move if German fighters were present. The Italians reluctantly agree and advance into Alexandria, confident, however, with the promises made by the Germans that the 10th Legion could possibly pin the British to Cairo and fall back if needed. However, these promises do not materialize, with Jeff ordering all aircraft in the region to make for southern Italy after the attacks in the Mediterranean. So for the time being, the 10th Legion sits dangerously vulnerable. But we'll have to see how that unfolds shortly. Now, on the Eastern Front, Field Marshal Dave Scamardella has begun the next phase of operations. He sends a forward detachment of 6 divisions from 6th Army into Western Ukraine, quickly encircling the Soviet 41st Division in the area, either destroying or capturing the Soviets in the division. They are then ordered to dig in and prepare for a Soviet counterattack that could materialize. The bulk of 4th and 6th Armies on this front have now consolidated in eastern Poland, with the forward positions of 6th Army as a tempting target for a larger trap. Field Marshal Scamadella hopes the Soviets will retake Ukraine at great cost to their forces, with the rest of his armies able to crush any Soviet survivors, hopefully leading to a total collapse of the region. The Baltic states are taken with 1 Panzer Division from Panzer Group 1, with Dave leading the remaining 5 divisions south to Romania, in hopes of tricking the Soviets into a false sense of security. From this position, however, they still have the same range to strike on all fronts. Führer Smith leads the 4th Army mechanized forces from Paris and Panzer Group 2 into Yugoslavia, crushing the remaining forces because of the intel 6th Army was able to gather in the first round. He is now poised to aid the 6th Army in the southern region of the Soviet Union. The Germans are now in powerful positions along the whole front, with 4th, 6th, and 17th Armies now poised to strike deep into Soviet lands. General Erich Nikkel, commander of the 41st Army, sees the positions the 6th Army's forward units are in and wants to hit them hard, but retreat without retaking the region, since he sees the trap being set by the Germans. For this task, he hits them with 2 tank divisions, one being led personally by Pietramala, and a collection of infantry and artillery from Ukraine and surrounding areas. The 41st does suffer the loss of 2 infantry divisions during the attack, but managed to inflict losses of 3 divisions on the Germans, so a net positive in their eyes. Now, this attack has an interesting effect, as the Soviets retreat into the safety of Kiev and deem the operation a success, while German High Command sees it as an equal success for them. They've done exactly as they wished, struck, lost forces, and are now in a position for them to now crush. We'll see how this materializes and if 41st Army is able to escape before 4th and 6th Army are able to act. Now, while the Germans and the Soviets both deem this operation a success for their respective parties, the British are not so sure, with Shannon Birdcat taken aback by the reports he reads of the Soviets' lack of commitment to strike German 6th Army positions. He is quoted by a BBC reporter the following day saying, "The troops of the 41st must be questioning why their generals did not smack the 6th Army while they had the chance." Now, in the north, while the 41st Army's attacks are taking place, General Fitch orders the 62nd Army to yet again hold positions in Leningrad, which sends doubts throughout Allied commands of the 62nd Army's ability to make it to support any attacks on Moscow without being cut off and isolated by the Germans. General Fitch also continues his march west with the 14th Army in the Far East, who, at the moment, the 14th Army also won't make it back if the Germans drive straight for Moscow. So it looks like the entire defense of the country is falling on the shoulders of General Nikkel, since Chairman Pietramala has been injured in the attacks on 6th Army and is currently in hospital recovering. Erich Nikkel needs to at least delay the Germans long enough for the 62nd and 14th to come to his aid. A tall task, to be sure. Now, while all this is going down, Japan is busy in the Pacific. They have managed to push the Chinese even further into western China, as the 11th Army has hit them yet again with major attacks along the entire front. Chinese forces are holding up their end of the bargain, however, with the Allied forces, drawing the Japanese deep into China and away from India. Now, if they go to war, the Japanese will be well out of range of the British Far East Jewel, relieving pressure on the British 69th to strike Japan in the rear. But the reason for so many Imperial troops remaining in northern China is because Japan does not intend to keep the pact they've made with the Soviets and begin operations in the Far East to take valuable IPCs away from the Soviets and force the 14th to slow their march west and pick between either stopping the Japanese in the Far East or marching to aid the 41st. So the Japanese forces in the north of China are getting into position to deal with the Mongolian forces that they suspect will join on the side of the Soviets. In the mid-Pacific, Admiral Tom Bonner takes the combined fleet and steams south for Australia. He is now positioned off the coast of Sydney with Australian command in absolute panic. This is compounded as Emperor Smith now arrives in the Caroline Islands with the remaining transports and the pride of the Imperial Navy, the IJN Nagato, the sister ship to Admiral Bonner's battleship Congo. It is now looking like the Japanese are in position for a full invasion of Australia. But that is not the case, as the Japanese are trying to freak the Australians out and cause them to spend all their money on ground forces and leave no ships to contest the waters. They plan from here to head west with the forces from Japan and the Caroline Islands and plan to launch a massive offensive across all of South Pacific, hitting Java, Sumatra, Borneo, Celebes, the Philippines, and even Hong Kong. The Japanese wanted to slow the Allies' ability to get ships to sea while they planned their ultimate attack to cripple the Allied economies by capturing these resource-rich areas. While they slow Allied shipbuilding, they are not slowing down themselves, with a new fleet carrier being commissioned in Tokyo Bay, the IJN Hiryu, sister ship to Soryu. But there is a small hiccup in the plan. Führer Denner Smith wishes to get reports from his generals about the state of war, since he is beginning to worry about the growing US fleet off the eastern coast. He wants operations against the Soviets sped up so they can shift gears to defend against growing Allied threats in the west. Now, 6th Army radios back telling the Führer not to worry, since the Japanese will not be attacking until round 4, so the Allies won't be a threat for at least several more rounds. Well, this communication is sent on unsecured lines. The Allied intelligence agencies pick it up and blast it to all commands. Communications soon explode about the German slip-up, leaking the true intentions of the Japanese. Now, in the US, President Danny Davis has managed to build up the US military to significant levels. And with the information they now know, Australia should be safe for a few more rounds at least. Field Marshal Scamardella is furious at his men for letting this intel slip. He quickly radios the Führer himself, informing him of the possible intel leak, telling him he should inform the Japanese in case plans need to change or be sped up. So we will see how this all unfolds in future rounds. But for the time being, US General Brandon Morgan is taking no risks. Whether or not the intel is true, or if it was an elaborate deception, he does not want to be caught slacking. He combines the Western Coast Fleet with the main force in Hawaii and pulls his destroyer screens back as well. The Americans now have 2 fleet carriers to the Japanese 4. In the Atlantic, the fleet that spooked the German Führer so badly is the 5 transports of the Atlantic Command, and is ready to strike Gibraltar and recapture from the Italian and German forces. General Beveridge is given a new fleet carrier as well, the USS Leviathan. Now, the UK also conducts Operation Gateway, naval operations against the Germans in Sea Zones 91 and Italian transports in Sea Zone 92, where HMS Unsinkable leads the charge to regain control of the waters around Gibraltar, to clear a path for a looming American liberation. British Command also begins Operation 476 by 8th Army in North Africa and Operation Desert Devil by the 69th in Central Africa. These dual operations are going to bring about the total destruction of the Italian 10th Legion in Alexandria and Sudan, respectively. General Brincat leads the charge in Alexandria, breaking the Italian 10th Legion, but yet again at heavy cost to his own forces. The strategic city is soon brought back under control of the Crown, with 3 divisions lost in the battle here alone. To the south, General Leving's 69th Army conducts amphibious landings into Sudan, supported by British naval bombardment and air power from Transjordan. The 69th is looking like they should have a smooth operation. However, as soon as the British hit the beaches, they are ravaged upon landing, as the Italians land all 3 hits in the first wave of British forces. Thankfully for the British, the 69th is able to successfully overcome the Italian resistance and secure Sudan, suffering 3 divisions lost as well. Italy has fought with absolute fire these first 2 rounds, suffering losses, sure, but making the British pay for every inch taken. With operations a success in Africa, the British do plan to take out the last 3 divisions of Italians over the coming rounds. HMS Dauntless and the 8th Army forces from South America arrive off the east coast of the United States. The Italians do what they can in Africa after suffering these great losses of their 2 largest armies in the region. They attack Algeria and march further south into southern Africa. On the mainland, General Decker's 8th Legion strikes Greece along 2 fronts, with General Decker personally joining the fray from the air. The Greek military defenses are smashed, a combination of Italian air power and total surprise of the 8th Legion's speed south. Athens is occupied the afternoon of the 19th, with Greece signing a total surrender to Axis forces. Now, the French cruiser we saw making their way for US waters last round arrives in Canada the day after Greece's surrender, with the French fighter squadron landing in Morocco to link up with Allied forces to hopefully stop the Italians' march to the sea. Now, jumping back to the Pacific, we see General Nick Dawson and Prime Minister Weiss begin organizing the defense of Sydney, with the Prime Minister personally leading the air forces and Nick Dawson commanding the ground troops in the city. At sea, we also see the Australians leave Java and land in Sumatra, annexing the island and giving a much-needed boost to the Australian economy. And with that, this round comes to an end, with the German 6th Army trying to bait the Soviets into a trap while consolidating their forces for a powerful strike. Italy seeing their 1st Army completely destroyed in Africa, while gaining territory in mainland Europe and Northwest Africa, while the Japanese send shockwaves through Allied commands with their aggressive push south. And I don't know what will happen in this war, but we are seeing some powerful players at work, and all I know is I'll be here round after round to share the breaking news with all of you as it unfolds. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next round. This war grows larger every round, with more and more operations underway and players at work across the globe. If you guys enjoy these series and these round-by-round updates, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel to help us grow and help us in the YouTube algorithm. And if you enjoy this series, please check out the World War II in real time link in the description, as they are the inspiration for this very show. So, thank you guys, and we will see you next week.